this. Hi bud, what's your name?
It's Jamie.
Jamie, I'm Dale. Pleased to meet you, Jamie. Thanks for stopping and talking to me, mate. I'm going to ask you just a couple of questions. First and foremost, would you consider yourself a reasoned person?
As in like logical?
Logical, rational. What I really mean is, do you understand why you think the way you think and why you believe things that you may believe?
Yeah, I tend to look into my beliefs quite a lot.
So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ask another couple of questions and I'll get to the topic, right?
Sure.
If I was to ask you a simple question like, say we've got a standing body of water, say a swimming pool, and the water was perfectly calm, how would you describe the surface?
Still?
Yeah, but like geometrically, how would you describe the surface of the water? Flat. What if I scaled that up to 10 times the size? How would you describe the surface? Flat. So I'm just using this as a quick one, right, to get into the topic of the discussion. So we've agreed you think you're reasoned, and we've just agreed on a certain principle like how water behaves. I'm going to stand here just so that wind doesn't affect the camera. People told me when I was a kid and all through my life, now I'm prepping me here because there's going to be a triggered response that I can predict. Okay. People have always told me that the earth that I'm standing upon is a round, a spherical shaped ball. Okay, you know where I'm going, right? So how I lead into this, and people think that I'm being deceptive, but I'm trying to agree on things, the difference between our experience of things and things that we hold to believe, like the globular earth. So I asked you about water a wee minute ago, okay. And you agreed. Yeah. Now, did you agree because that's your experience?
Oh no, I've never saw a body of water that massive, but like the principle.
Look, could I analyse this and say that you're being defensive already, based on what you agreed upon, because you're weary of where this goes, because you don't want to commit to anything, and I don't want you to commit to anything. That's not what I'm here to do. I'm not trying to convert anybody or trick you into, accepting something. I'm just trying to highlight how we reason and the tricks that we play on ourselves. So you would accept water behaves like that?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a contradiction there to the globular earth claim?
True, if you looked at it at a large enough size, I could see how it's not flat. It does take on a...
Have you experienced that?
Oh no, but...
This is another aspect. You and I as human beings, no fallacious reasoning, appealing to consensus, appealing to authority. I don't consider what I see in the TV to be usurp my direct experience of the reality, so I don't accept what I see in TV. How would you reason with me to help me to accept that the earth was a globe? You've never experienced the scale that you're talking about, but you're trying to reason your way to would it be fair to say, I don't want to, I'm very careful not to lead you to this. Would it be fair to say that you're trying to reason your experience of reality to fit the image you've seen on the TV? Because you've never seen the earth as a globe, have you?
Yeah, I do have to reason it, but I kind of just, I go on what the kind of scientific consensus is, and it makes sense that we wouldn't be the sole flat earth, flat planet.
So is this the whole notion of the planetoids and everything above us appears to be round balls? So there, would you agree that that's kind of false reasoning? Because it's like me saying to you, well, there's a pool table, the balls on the pool table are all round, so why would the pool table be flat? Do you see what I mean? It's it's a false logic, really, isn't it? I mean, again, if I'm trying to establish what I'm standing upon, I think it's a red herring to be looking above me to intangible phenomena to try and assert that because they're circles, we're on a circle or we're on a ball. I don't get the reasoning behind that at all. I just
think it would make sense that we're the only anomaly of a planet to not follow this kind of globular form.
And you accept that these things are balls?
Yeah, I've saw them. I saw Venus.
You see them two-dimensionally? How do you establish that it's a sphere looking two-dimensionally? Because your vision's two-dimensional.
Well, this is where it gets pretty philosophical.
But it is though. I mean, you understand that vision is two-dimensional. You don't see three-dimensionally. You don't see.
But you perceive depth in a way.
You get depth perception, of course. But if I was to say there was an object up there in the distance, two-dimensionally, you can't tell me what that is until you get to it and you can move around it and access it in 3 dimensions to know what it is.
But also if a bit closer to home, the moon.
The moon.
So if you look at how the moon, the changing don't know what you call it, the
Phases.
phases of the
Yep.
moon, like which corresponds to how the sun and the moon and the earth all relate to one another. That wouldn't happen if it was flat.
Right. So again, we're talking about these things. You mentioned philosophically, so we're talking kind of philosophically.
Yeah.
I'm trying to establish the shape of the earth here, and so far we're talking about what's above us. So again, I'm going to say and make the statement that's a red herring. So if I came to your home and you asked me to establish the dimensions of your floor, and I started to look at the light bulbs, the fixings in the ceiling, would you accept my reasoning?
No, but that's different. I don't know. I don't exactly know the physics of it, but the physics of how, you know, a planet comes to be that shape is determined by the laws of the universe, which apply everywhere.
See, you're getting to touch on the main point of why I do this. The majority, and I've been doing this at the university for quite a while, and what I like to highlight is the fact that human beings accept things to be true, but they don't really comprehend why they believe it.
Yeah,
Would you say that's fair for you?
Yeah, for a lot of issues I do actually believe that. A lot of people just take for granted what we're told and we don't really look into it.
But that's
a lot of people just don't think ahead of themselves and just kind of take what authority figures.
What authority says.
I don't agree on this exact issue, but for a lot of issues I do agree that we don't.
Even regardless of the issue, the point I like to highlight is the psychology of that, and where I think there's an issue, because it's to your detriment. I don't think it's acceptable that human beings walk around professing things to be true and they don't comprehend what it is they profess to be true.
I would agree with that.
So, exactly, so that's the point I'm always trying to bring up, and I think it's always beneficial, because if you've never thought about it, now you're going to think about it a wee bit, because you don't want to be walking about accepting things that you don't comprehend. Would you say that's fair?
Oh yeah, and I always like to know why I think something. Can I get to the bottom of it before I make my own decisions?
Yep.
Well, you can't be informed otherwise.
Well, I'll share that with you, because that was my experience. I believed complicitly, well, I didn't even invested belief, but I accepted that I was on a globular earth blindly. And then I started to analyse it, and the further I went, I couldn't justify maintaining the belief anymore. You know, because I'd turned my attention to it. I think you have to have a certain amount of bias to want something to be true. So if I say a simple thing, come back again, I want to bring it back to the experiential part again. So you and I are standing at the seaside and we're looking at a thing called the horizon, which is an optical phenomena. Again, like water, how would you describe the horizon?
It's flat.
A flat straight line?
Yeah.
So again, that's your experience. Have you experienced curvature?
No, but but the scale we look at it, when you size it up to the true size of the Earth, is, you know, if you zoom in that far to a circle, it does tend to a straight line.
Yep.
Even though it's not exactly a straight line.
So what if I gave you some figures just to trigger some thought in you?
Yeah.
The globular Earth is the mathematical formula that's an approximation for the curvature rate of the Earth. The globular Earth of 24,000 mile circumference is 8 inches per mile squared. So over 1 mile there's an 8-inch deviation, and then it's an exponential squaring of the 8 inches for every mile that you go, because it's a circle. It's not a slope, so it's an exponential curve from one point. So it squares for every mile. So once we get to like looking across 40 miles, you're up to like hundreds of feet of drop from your feet to the next point. Do you comprehend that?
Yeah.
So when we're looking at the horizon, then I say I'm at the west coast and I have two land masses with a distance of 28 miles between them. So I've got a nice straight line between them. Now from the central point to either side, there should be a drop of over 100 feet at either side, which is no detectable.
What, sorry?
So if we're looking at the horizon,
Distance,
if you're looking at the horizon, I'll use this as an example, and you've got a landmass here and you've got a landmass here, and you've got the straight horizon between them, right? If I'm looking at the centre of this, so in a globular Earth you would always be at the top of the ball. So if I'm looking at the centre, there should be a drop to this side and a drop to that side, which should be observable. Let's know.
You can go by other things. You can see the sun setting beyond the horizon. You can see things travelling over the horizon. So
do you then have the belief that the horizon's the actual curve of the Earth?
Yeah, I've never actually thought about what the horizon is, but it's the way that the Earth curves away, so you can no longer see past it.
I would say that the horizon's an optical phenomenon. It's not actually a physical thing. And the reason why I would say this is based on the geometry of your vision. So we don't have Euclidean vision. We have non-Euclidean vision, it's spherical. So it highlights, maybe you've never thought about it, so when we look along the road, the floor appears to rise up, the sky appears to descend, and everything else appears to converge to what we would call the vanishing point. So that's a function and a geometry of how your vision works. So on a globular Earth, the floor can never rise up in front of your field of view. It must descend from your feet in every direction. So when we're looking, what I would say then as a suggestion is that there comes a limitation to light, that eye being able to resolve light at such acute angles. So things start to obscure. And for me, I can observe that and I can recreate and I can test that on a smaller scale. So I can mess with, you know, the humidity of air, I can mess with the temperature of water, I can place objects at a further distance. I mean, you've seen it in a hot day, looking along a long road, things appear to disappear from the bottom. Yeah. So again, you know, we're looking at something optical.
True.
Right?
True, but the thing is, if we, I don't know, at least my beliefs is, because I do see myself as a kind of spiritual person, so there's only so much that we can know because it's all based upon our perception of the earth. We don't perceive UV like butterflies would, so we only go on our perception. So it might not be round, but from what we can observe of the earth and at least our perception of it, I do believe it is.
What you and I see, when you say we, who are you talking about?
Humans.
So you're appealing to non-entities. What I'm trying to do is talk to you directly as a human being, forget about everybody else, and us two reasoning with each other. So we've established how water behaves. We've established that we see a straight line that we call the horizon, but still you're searching to try and defend something. And again, I want to be fair, you don't fully understand the globe Earth, but you're still trying to defend it.
I do understand it, I just can't articulate it.
You can't articulate it. So if you can't articulate it, do you think you fully comprehend it? It's okay, I mean, listen.
No, I don't fully understand it the way that I could explain it to someone else, but I think I can rationalise it in my own brain, just the way that I cannot understand thoughts.
Yeah.
At least.
And do you think that they're reasonable, the way that you're rationalising it? Do you think, you know, again, it's maybe not important or relevant to you, so you're not getting to the depths of being totally critical with yourself, like the way I had to be with myself, because again, I didn't want to be wrong, and I certainly don't want to put myself out there to be labelled as a flat earther or any of these things, because that's a lot of pressure to take. So I had to make sure that I was being true to myself. Now, when I ask these questions, people always label, you're a flat earther, you're a this, you're a that. And I'm like, I'm trying to establish a ground of reasoning and get to the root of the things that we believe in, and it's so difficult. And this kind of defensive reaction's quite common, that people, you know, what I see personally is that people don't know about the globe Earth, but they'll try and rationalise and try and defend something. And I'm going to suggest to you that it's because of peer pressure. It's because you've seen the result of being a flat earther or denying that the globe Earth exists, and you don't want to be labelled as that. Would that be fair?
I don't know, like looking at the body evidence and I wouldn't see the reasoning for it being a lie.
For it being a lie? What?
I kind of, like, you'll never know for certain in life, but like, of all the things that I have to look to, like all the evidence, all the photos of the earth, things like that, I can't rationalise why someone or some group would try and perpetuate a myth.
But you understand human beings lie.
True.
And again, I believe that for 30 odd years of my life, was I lying? Or did I just have a blind belief in it? So I wasn't part of a conspiracy. I wasn't out there telling my kids or anybody else lies when I was talking about things that I didn't understand in regards to outer space and planetoids. I wasn't telling lies. Yeah. I just had never analysed my reasoning and why I had accepted these things to be true, which is the most important thing.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to highlight why we believe them and to try and trigger something in you, because at the end of the day, look, I'm in support of every human being. I want you to be critical, I want you to be sure of yourself, and I want you to understand your own being, and that's the main goal for me. Not to say I've converted you to a flat earther or I've now made you a globe skeptic. At a human level, I want you to be able to be thinking properly and just consider things a wee bit deeper, you know, so that you don't pass it on to the next generation and then, you know, the snowball continues. Hopefully we can get a ground of reasoning properly, you know.
Yeah,
but
I don't think there'll be a compromise between us, but I envy the kind of philosophy you're going by to consider things deeper, even if we don't agree on that.
But that's another most important part. It's the fact that you and I don't have to agree, But we can stand here without any emotional investment and just have a discussion, and people are too emotionally triggered because, as I say, if it's an objective claim, why do you need to get emotional about it? Because it's no an attack on your person.
Yeah, it'll be true whether you believe it or not.
But what happens is the trigger tells you that they feel it's an attack on their person because there's a cognitive dissonance happening, where their ego's taking a bit of a bashing because they're being asked questions about things they don't really understand while making assertions about it. So I think it's great, you know, that people like yourself take the time and that we can have these wee discussions about it, and I hope that you go on and think about it some more. I could stand here and talk to you all day, but I don't want to keep you, you know. Is there anything else you want to say in regards to the matter?
No, my brain's racked.
Your brain's racked?
Yeah.
Are you going to go home and make sure that you know it's a globe?
Yes.
Thank you very much. What I'll say to you, quickly, if I told you I could fly, but I can't demonstrate it for you, but when you go home, check on Google, because there's loads of videos and images of me flying. Would you accept that to be true?
No, not very.
So remember that when you're looking at the globe Earth.
Okay.
Don't want images.
Yeah.
You want to be able to experience it.
Sure.
Alright, my man. Much appreciated. Thank you, brother.
Take care, man.
Take care, my man. Thank you. So much appreciated.